Guy Foster, welcome to the Marketing for Business podcast.
Bloody good to be here.
Look, I don't know if we're accidentally supposed to be here or I read that on your website, but you coach, I know I say this, I coach, this was on your website, I coach accidental business owners.
And a couple of accidental business leaders, but that's okay.
Yeah. So business leaders, business people, but also what I love to see is you do speeches.
Keynotes, yep.
Yeah. How good. We're gonna have a great talk today because I think you've got a great mindset. And I think that's what the business community needs right now. They need a bit of mindset. They need a bit of, hey, here's where we've been, but here's where we're going. So tell me where you've been and where you're going.
Oh, that's a... How much time do we have?
We've got 60 minutes.
Whew, this will be the shortest version of my life story ever.
You're an accountant, or you did an accounting degree.
I've got an accounting degree.
I did not know that about you.
It starts before that, though. It starts with my dad. My dad gave me a couple of poems, all in the state of mind and don't quit. And it was the conversations that occurred after that were life-changing.
Yeah.
And my dad and I would say of each other, we would both say that we are each other's very best students and each other's very best teachers.
Nice.
So there was a beautiful relationship there right from day one where we got to talk about why people do what they do when they think what they think and why we think the way we think. And
That's
then
pretty cool.
It was awesome. My dad's awesome.
What was your dad like? How did he get that? Like, what was? Because that's not really that normal in an upbringing. That you guess someone will sit you down and talk like that. That's pretty cool.
I think that my dad had a real hard upbringing.
Yep.
With his father, but also his mother. I'm not quite sure exactly what she had, but unfortunately she took her own life when my dad was 14.
Oh, wow.
And he found her. And so quite confronting given that he is an incredibly sensitive and creative man.
Yeah.
So I think my dad was always interested in being the best version of himself despite the circumstances.
That's cool. What a goal. Even though it's just a focus and intention, just be the best the best person you can be.
Yeah.
How good. I like this.
And despite some of the things that happened in his life and despite some of, even, in business, he had some quite big challenges. So my dad and my two uncles owned a business in Dunedin called Tamahini Knitwear.
Okay.
We were quite a large, employee down there.
Yep.
So that was what I got brought up in. The first job I ever had was sweeping up around the machineness. And one thing that I remember is some would give you no money, some would give you 20 cents, and some would give you 50 cents. And I remember thinking as a 6-year-old, how can I, for 1 hour of my time, earn a decent amount of money and get the 50 cents every time?
So good.
Yeah.
I remember as a youngster, my nana used to clean out the Avonhead Tavern. She was a cleaner. And my brother and I would go there, and it sometimes would be great when he didn't come because I knew there'd be more money to find because we would find money inside, there's areas of the hotel where you were guaranteed to find money.
Ching, ching.
Yeah, and there were some areas where there was more money. And then my brother one day found a $10 note in the car park. And that was the game changer. It was like we weren't looking inside anymore. We were looking outside.
I love this.
Yeah. It was interesting because, you wanted to find out and where you'd use the same time to get paid more money.
That's it. And so for me, I always knew that I wanted to be in business, and I thought that the best degree I could have, given that I was very, very bad at English and dyslexic, and okay at math and loved business, that accounting was that thing. So at 13, I came home and said, right, I'm going to go on to university and get an accounting degree. My dad gave me that look that is only saved for daughters that says, how do I curb that child's expectations because that ain't happening?
Yeah.
So he was both questioning my life choices and my biggest supporter.
Did he want you to go into the business directly, or
no? He had no thoughts of that. He thought I was not capable of getting an accounting degree.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and so I was third child. Yep. So I got an older brother and an older sister.
Yep.
My sister went into the business very early. She's very much like my father in a creative sense, very, very capable. I went later after I got my degree, and I started in customer services. And what I got through that business, which is quite unusual, is a degree in end-to-end process. So nice. I started in customer services, made probably my biggest career impact in production planning. So changed our company from 25 years of late deliveries to on-time deliveries, smashing that part of the business.
What was the key to that?
You solving a problem is really easy,
Mhm.
but identifying what the problem is the tricky bit.
Yeah, true.
So we had a bottleneck that we always assumed was knitting, but actually we had a second bottleneck that caused more problems because you could knit up to 15,000 units a week in knitting,
Yep.
but you could only ever make up 5,000 units a week. So it didn't really matter what you
Right.
did.
Yeah. So you
on the-
couldn't put it together. Yeah.
So
Wow.
they'd hold back, and then they'd knit everything, but it would never give us enough time to make it up. So we just changed that. We started saying no to marketing, and which caused a bit of an uproar. But then what we realised is initially we had indents of say 10 million, and we'd only be able to deliver 7, or we'd get stuff sent back. So when we indented 10, our sales for the year would be 7. What happened was when we indented 10, we'd only lose 2% after we delivered on time because the whole business changed.
That's pretty good. Like you must have been like thinking, hey, this game's easy. Or you're thinking,
oh, no, because also, and thank you, Trump, that now when I say this word tariff, you'll understand what I mean. So just a few years before that, tariffs had come off in New Zealand.
Okay.
So for knitwear or for, all clothing.
Yep.
And so we knew that our industry was changing. So we had a changing face
So
of that
you
business.
had to be more efficient, right? Like, so it made you look at your processes and identify those bottlenecks, because if you didn't, you're not making as much money and you're going backwards.
Yeah, and also we also had already made the decision to have our own brand, so have a little bit more control over where our sales went, but that was only ever going to last a certain amount of time. So eventually, and I probably identified this as that I did see it as a sunset business.
Yep.
And so eventually we did announce that we were going to close. We did get sold, but to a much lesser operation.
Yeah.
But it was just a process. So a lot of my business knowledge and experience came through that family business. And, life got in the way. I had a couple of cancer diagnoses along the way.
Yeah.
The second time I was diagnosed with terminal cancer, given a life expectancy of 12 months.
Wow.
And removed myself from the medical system because there was no treatment options.
Yep.
And luckily experienced what they call a radical remission. So my body innately healed. And then I decided to have a baby. And
that is awesome. So just
gloss over that.
We'll just gloss over that. Eh?
Yeah.
Back to that. Like to make that decision, like because lots of people obviously are told, hey, you're going to be terminal and you can do this, this, and this, but you can't really do anything. You just decided, right, I'm making a decision to cut that option off. Was that just because there was no other option in that, or did you think, hey, I'm going to find another way?
No, I think that there were two reasons. I cut it off because they were telling me that palliative care chemo would give me no more longevity.
Yeah.
And the second reason I felt okay about cutting it off is that when you're in the hospital system, they put a huge amount of demands on your time, whether it's sticking you with things, whether it's scans or whatever. And, if I only had 365 days left of my life, I wanted some control.
Yeah.
So I wanted to just be able to get up and live each day as best I could and just enjoy that each and every moment.
Yeah. I know from seeing my mum pass away sadly last year that in that hospital system, once a doctor's role is to save you to some degree. A surgeon's role is to operate on you to save you. And it was really interesting to see the roles being played, like the nurses was there to keep you, pain-free and help you do everything. But then it was really interesting to see those different roles inside a hospital. And at some point, Mum was like, hey, enough is enough. I'm not having that because that only gives me this amount of quality of life, but actually it's taking away this as well.
100%. And that is why my decision in removing myself from the medical system at that point in time was not heroic or anything else. It was simply to take what little control I did have of my life back.
Yeah. So what did you do then? Like, did you find other opportunity, find other ways of having care, or what? Like, you're still here, so you've obviously done something really, really well.
I have. So there were 3 things I heard: be present, go natural, and be grateful. Now, pretty hard to be grateful for when you're 38 years old, you've just met the love of your life, you've moved to Christchurch, and you've only got a year together. Yeah. But I just knew I had to figure these things out. So I just left the hospital thinking, I'm just going to live my life with these 3 principles in mind.
So what they were again? Be present,
Go natural.
Go natural.
and be grateful.
Be grateful. I love that. Being grateful is so important. Every day, writing something to be grateful for.
And actually not just writing it, but actually feeling it in your body until a tear comes into your eye.
Oh, wow.
It happened to me this morning when I was at work nice and early and I was enjoying a cup of tea and I just looked out the window and I just felt this immense gratitude that I get another day. And it's really easy to be grateful.
Yeah.
Like I can be grateful now. Piece of cake. I'm living my dream. I've got an amazing family.
Yep.
Everything's really...
On an awesome podcast.
Exactly. You know, like what else could I want in my day? And the point is that it's not so easy to do it when you sound like Darth Vader. You've got one of your lungs is fully collapsed and you've only got so many more days.
Crikey.
But that's the time to do it. That's the time to double down and just go, like, essentially all you want at that time in your life is one more day. So you become, I chose to become exceptionally grateful for the day that I did have.
Yeah. That is, you know, and like in the heat of that, you know, I guess the world looks back at you and goes, you know what, I'm glad you're grateful. And I've heard this from other people too, right? You know, and being grateful is something we can all do, but it's something that not all of us do, right? And I like what you said about feeling it. That's probably my thing I probably need to do as a male more. Like I write that I'm grateful and I write a bunch of stuff, but I could feel it a little bit more. How do I do that?
Be present.
Mm-hmm. And being present.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and being present, like so does that mean just sitting there and feeling, you know, like feeling those feelings and allowing them to you know, I guess sink in?
I think it's two parts. I think quite often people think if I've got to be grateful, I've got to be grateful for 300 things. I think you just need to be grateful for 1 to 3 things.
Nice.
So if I was choosing to be grateful in this moment, I might think of my son. And I might just go, oh my God, he's so funny.
Yeah.
And I just like, and then if I'm still not quite feeling, the tears aren't quite there yet. And I'm just like, and if I really need to do it, I'll be like, imagine if I had one day without him.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, okay.
And then, okay, I'm really grateful now.
Me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So if I have to, I'll play the game with myself.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I did. Because people go, well, how do I be grateful? Well, imagine if I didn't have this day, I'd be dead. That hurts.
Yeah, totally.
Great. So now I'm back to being grateful for today.
Yeah. And how long, like what sort of period did you go through? Like obviously when you get told a period of time, what are you doing there? Are you like crossing the days off, or are you going like it must be quite confronting. And I know I had a good mate of mine pass away and he was told X amount of days and unfortunately he did pass away. It must be quite confronting. And the reason I ask is, you know, if people get into that situation, you know, to be present, go natural, be grateful on a daily basis, you know, how your strength of your mindset must come into this some degree, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think that I firmly believe that the grass grows where you water it.
Totally.
So where am I watering the grass? So, you know, I always thought that I had another 365 days, so no countdown required.
Yep.
I couldn't even tell you the date that I was diagnosed because I let it go. So
that's cool.
I think that quite often, you know, you said before about, you know, people's jobs in the hospital and everyone has their job, but I have a job.
Totally.
This is my life.
Yeah.
The time that he gave me is not his to give because it's about my life.
Yeah.
So I understand that he passed on educated information that he had, but it wasn't really mine, and I kept it just out. The other thing is I never told, when they gave me my prognosis, I asked my partner to leave the room, and I never repeated that information.
Wow.
I never ever repeated it. Everyone knew that I was terminal and that it wasn't good, but I never told anyone that I had 365 days. And I always, in my mind, I thought 1 more year.
Yeah.
Because I thought I could get 5.
Yeah.
I never said, how do I cure myself of incurable cancer?
Yeah.
I just said, how do I enjoy today and get 1 more year, 1 more year, 1 more year, 1 more day, 1 more year. And also just really being present with it. Like, I think people think that like when you meet me, you'll go, oh my gosh, you're so positive. I'm not. I'm just a realist that happens to believe in miracles.
Yeah.
So I don't go through life going, my body is fine, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
I went through life going, this is a bit shit.
Yeah.
Now what's my next best step?
Yeah. I love what you said there. Like, I have a job, like it's your job. You can take the inputs that you're getting, but at the end of the day, it's your job, and it's a job you have to take serious, and you did it, in your way too, right?
And don't take it too seriously. Last time I checked, we're all going to die.
Yeah.
So don't overthink it. So to me, it's like I had this moment where I was like, I'm really scared of dying. So I just sat down, and instead of thinking about it as death, I just thought of that reminder as my angel of death.
Yeah.
And I talk about it now. She comes everywhere with me. She's in my little pocket. She's in wherever, because her job is to remind me that one day I will go with her. One day I hope that I get to go with her with ease, grace and flow. Her job is to remind me that I'm going to die one day, and my job is to be obsessed with living.
How good. Love that. Should we just finish now?
Yeah, mic drop.
Mic drop. Hey, so what I love, and I was reading some stuff that you've been doing, and look, we've caught up and know a few people that have been on podcasts and doing the speaking, etc. What I love about what I read, you said, I want to help people live their best life.
Whatever that means for them.
Whatever that means for them. Tell me about that, and tell me how you do that, because there'll be people listening here, and look, the world's in a bit of chaos. There's things happening out there. There's probably more emotion in the world now than there ever has been. And I think, a big part of that is the digital life that we live. And also you've got a whole bunch of different inputs where some people are getting their inputs from TV, some people are getting their inputs from social media, some people are getting their inputs for different forums and stuff. And everyone seems to have, these opinions and everything flying around. And there'll be people here listening. I just want to take control of what I'm doing. I actually my job is to look after myself and my family and live the best life I can. How do you help people do that? Because I think it's a topic right now that more and more people, the people that want to, they're feeling a little bit out of control. So how do you help them specifically?
Well, first of all, I'd say that, when people say to me, I need to get control, I'm like, that's a delusional concept.
Yep.
That's the first thing.
You can control what you can control, though.
100%.
Yeah.
So that is the first topic that I talk about, is radical responsibility.
Nice.
So it might not be your fault, but it is your responsibility. And in that, there's two parts to that. Your ability to respond.
Yep.
So it's like things happen, and it's not the cards that you're dealt that are important. It's the way that you play the game. And there is a moment in time when something happens that you can, a split second where you can choose to react in a way that is supportive of your ingrained behaviours and the stories that you've been telling yourself, or you can get to respond. So in my case, my response was, I reckon these three things that are my three whispers are better to live by than being obsessed about the fact that I'm going to die one day, because we all are. So instead of being obsessed about that, how do I want to live? So my response was, how am I going to choose to live in however many days I have and not be obsessed about death? The second thing I talk about is the story that we tell ourselves. So I've heard people talk about, family members that go through cancer and people's own journey. I just told myself another story. I never suffered from cancer. I never fought cancer. I never battled cancer. I just journeyed with it.
Yeah. It was interesting talking to a guy yesterday, and we were talking about depression, and I must have indirectly said, people suffering. And he was like, no, I didn't suffer from depression. I had depression. I didn't suffer from it. And I thought that was a good takeaway. It was a good realization for me. I don't even know if I did say that, but that's the story that you can end up telling yourself, right? And some people are still attached to stories that other people gave them, years and years ago, that are not even this. They shouldn't even be their story now.
My husband would tell you that I don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. And what I would say to him is, no, I tell stories based in truth that have a version that suit the future version of myself.
Yep.
Most people tell stories that are historically past or justify their behaviour.
Yeah.
I choose to tell stories that benefit the future version of myself.
I like that. Yeah. Interesting that you said at the start though is how do I want to live my life? I think as we get older, we probably bring that question forward more, right? As a young person, you probably don't answer that, ask that question. I think it's an interesting question though. How do you want to live your life? Because knowing that we're all going to die, how do we want to live it? Like, okay, we've got XYZ, years left, supposedly, if you look at the stats, but being direct, how do I want to live that?
Yeah. I think that comes to the third thing that I talk about, which is intentional,
Nice.
regardless of where we end up, like regardless of how we got here. So, accidentally, if we've ended up in a business, accidentally, if we've ended up as a leader, whatever, even if you're like me and you always knew you loved business, even if it was slightly more intentional. In my journey, there was, I ended up with cancer. I didn't mean to end up there. So regardless of how we got here, how do we want to live more intentionally? And so what I'd say is that we can do this North Star exercise, which goes, this is where I want to end up in 10,000 days or whatever it is. But actually what we need to look at is, based on the events that have happened in my life, what story am I telling myself? What beliefs and values do I have? What are the thoughts that are going through my head all the time? And therefore, what actions are coming out of this?
Yep.
Now, all of that circle, all of that thing that's going on will determine the future events of your life. Now, if that's going in an entirely different direction to where it is that you want to go, then we have a gap. And that gap is the bit that we coach. That gap is either I challenge people as to, is that really what you want? Because when you want something, there is always a price to pay. And are you prepared to pay that price?
Yeah. Where do you think that people get caught though, like doing the stuff? Because I meet people all the time, and like, oh, you must really like what you're doing. You talk about it, you're positive, you must really like it. And I was like, yeah, I really do. And I was like, so what is it that you do? And they're like, oh, I just do this. And I was like, so is that fun? It's like, oh, not really. I'm like, I don't really understand. Why do it then? And where do you see people get caught in the trap of, is it to please their parents? Is it to please, because they've got such a massive student loan that they've got into something that they don't even really want to do? Like we've got someone who works for us, left Kellyanne, she's awesome. She left an accounting firm because she just didn't want to be an accountant anymore. No one would give her an opportunity in digital marketing. We did. She's awesome. She's a great account manager. She's really personable, and the clients love her. And I think that's so brave that she left an industry where everyone were going, why would you, like, people are like, why would you want to leave there? It's stable, it's this, it's that. But she wasn't happy.
Well, it depends on your values, doesn't it? So the answer to your question is yes. You asked, where do people get stuck?
Yeah.
All the above, anywhere.
Yeah.
Like they just find a spot. So if she had have got stuck there, it would have been because she was putting the stability against her creative or freedom expression.
Yeah, totally.
So, when I see people living their best life or giving things a go, it's because they've worked out what's important to them. So
Nice.
I look back now and I've been frustrated with my own growth, not in the last year, but before that. I was really frustrated in my business and I knew that I was the problem. What I didn't know, or what I didn't have somebody help me through at the time, but I very clearly see it now, is that I had a conflict.
Okay.
So I had a conflict between, I've had this massive experience around cancer and I've got this gorgeous son.
Yeah.
And it was like, he is like, I'm first, him and my husband are second, my work's third. So what I was trying to do was I was trying to work inside out. I was trying to go, I'm going to put work first, then my family, then me.
Yep.
And that doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so I got really frustrated with myself because every time I had a little bit of a motion forward, it was almost like I put the handbrake on because I was really comfy working about half time.
Yep.
And then I was, home admin, I was life admin, I was doing all the things for the family. I was always there for him. My husband has taken one day off work in the last 13 years to look after my son. I did it. I did all of it and worked part-time. Now, I was frustrated because I had two goals that were in conflict. Now, I would never have told you that my goal was to put my son first.
Yeah.
But it was almost like if I breathe, then that is going to happen.
Yeah.
It is such a high value to me that it would never have come to the surface.
Yep.
And then when I realised it was there, I went, I've been waiting for him to get to a certain age so that I can go, I'm on now.
My wife should listen to this because I think it's exactly the thing that she is doing and is doing. And you know, we had Louis late, and I said to her
Same.
from day one, hey, you just be at home and enjoy that. You know, she has a business doing energy healing and therapy, and she gets great results for her clients. But I know that's the same thing. Her number one goal is you know, Louis, and making sure that he is growing up. And yeah, I can see now he's 12, or coming up 12, I think, you know, seeing the journey of he's now creating his own person, right? So
Yeah.
interesting.
We had a family holiday last year. We've been away for 7 weeks, which was a big deal for our family. And we went away and it was just the 3 of us. And I remember sitting the boys down and I said, Jackson, have I been a good mum? And he goes, oh my God, Mum, you're amazing. And I said to Steve, have I been a good wife? He goes, oh, you're incredible. So I milked
Did he take his cue from the son?
Yeah, of course. he always has to take EQ 6 from the sun. And so I said to the boys, I milked it for another 7 minutes, you know, because when you're on a roll, you got to go for it. And then I said to them, I'm so pleased you think that way. I'm so pleased that that's how you feel, because I have given you 12 years of my life and that shit is now over.
Brilliant.
Like, I am going back to work full time. And the boys kind of looked at me and thought, it's going to take her a couple of years to wind up.
Yeah.
Unbeknownst to them, I'd been quietly. I now think about my last sort of like 5 years as, man, I was sharpening my axe.
Totally.
So it was probably 4 years. So from 2020, when I took my first business client, to 2024, halfway through last year, I had been sharpening my axe and I didn't even realize it myself.
How good.
And then last year was the first cut.
Nice. And all that, great. There's a great word in chefing. I was once a chef, mise en place, preparation prior to service. It's that work that you're doing beforehand, you know, little sharpening the knife, cutting the mushrooms, all that. So that's all the bit that you're doing. And then when service is on, like it's your game time. That's very cool, right? So what I love about this is obviously, you know, you're a people person and you love humans. Your dad loved knowing what, you know, you and your dad thinking there, what makes people tick, and you're very, very curious. So then you started working with accidental business leaders. Tell me about that, and what makes an accidental business leader? Because someone actually said that something to me the other day about being an accidental business owner, and I thought of you straight away. I was like,
I've coined the phrase.
I was like, this is gold.
Okay, so I would say that the people that I work with have a hell yes attitude. They have a hell yes attitude, and they are really, really, really good at their craft. And generally speaking, they've been so busy being good at their craft, they haven't really immersed themselves in the language of business or in the thinking of business.
Okay.
And the other thing about them, generally speaking, is that their partners are also not business people.
Yep.
So some of us have been brought up with business people all around us.
Yep.
It's just what we do.
Yep.
And these people don't have those people. So the conversations about business, the context, you know, all the nuances about business, you know, just the language is not there for them.
What would be an example of that? You don't have to name any names, but what would be someone who came to mind? Say, what type of typical industries? Any industries?
Everything.
Yep.
So if you go, like Dave Wood has been a great client of mine, and he is so good at what he does. Yet he'd never thought about business, but he's so good at what he does, he ended up in business.
Okay. So he might have a business and he's doing some work and just doing the work, and then all of a sudden more people are saying, hey, I'd love you to come and do some more work. Next minute there's more work than he knows what to do with. But
it's even the mindset of it, because, you know, when I first met Dave, you know, he's on an hourly rate, and it's like, hold on a minute, this is not how this rolls. You know, and so it's just even the thinking behind it. So the conversations that we had for 2 years were around, what is the value that you're offering? What is the transformation that you're giving your clients? But it's like that even for any of the trades. It's like that for videographers. It's like that for photographers. It's like that for lawyers and accountants. Even though they're around business, you can get a lot of lawyers that, you know, like a family law lawyer, but they still end up being really good at what they do. They end up with a law firm or a practice.
Yeah, true.
And it's like, oh, I didn't really think about that.
Yeah. No, and that does happen, right? Like someone leaves, and all of a sudden, well, someone else has got to pick that up, and it's got to be you or go somewhere else. So you decide to do it. Yeah, interesting. And so with that, like, what are some of the common things that you see inside an accidental business leader?
Generally speaking, the first thing with them is that they come to me because they're so overwhelmed because they've just figured out that there is an entire world that they do not understand.
Yeah.
So they're thinking that they have to do all of the 10,000 things at once. And I would say the first thing I do with my clients is clarity.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do you want? How are you going to get there? Now stop doing 100 things and just do the 10 things.
Gentleman I spoke to yesterday, the reason his business went into involuntary liquidation, one of the reasons I believe is when I was talking to him, he was doing everything inside the business. And he had a real trust issue, in which he did mention, that was leading him to be so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
You know, he was just, because he did everything.
So I talked about Dave Wood. He does stress mitigation type stuff, breath work, and like around performance type things. And one of the things that he's taught me is around cognitive load. So what we're looking for in life is stress is never the problem, because everything you want is on the other side of stress.
Yep.
And when you're stressed or when you're, you're getting shit done. And that is fantastic, and you need to do that. The problem is that you're not, generally speaking, people aren't oscillating.
Yep.
So, it's like sprint, rest, recover, sprint, recover, sprint, recover. And most people don't, like, we would never ask our athletes to turn up 5 days a week out of 7 and never have an off season and not to oscillate their training. That would be insane.
Yeah, totally.
Yet we expect ourselves as business people to just be smashing it all day, every day. And we have this hustle culture that has emerged, and actually the best thing that you can do for yourself is the extremes, is go hard, but do the recovery side of things as well. And do the recovery.
Honestly, that's why I love school holidays. Seriously,
I know. Same.
Since school holidays, I realised, and I did say out there at the door the other day, I'm like, man, I'm looking forward to Queenstown. Really looking forward to Queenstown. I'm going to go hard till then, though. Because I know I'm going to get a really, really good break.
Yep.
And I have no guilt on that break. I'm talking to a business owner yesterday, talking about guilt around holidays and stuff. And I'm like, nah, I got none. Like I will work harder than most people. And come July, boom, I am skiing.
Yeah, I think that's so good, because I think of my life in terms now. Like it's like Jackson's got 19 terms of school left. Yeah. And it's like it just chunks it down, because even in my work, I'm the same as you. Yeah. I go, okay, we're week 2. Yeah. I got 10 weeks. Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah.
And I think, like when you have that, like you should, as a business owner, set yourself up. Definitely get good people around you as well that are helping you on that journey. But you can't. What you talked about as an athlete is so true. I was watching a program on horse racing last night. I'm not a massive
as you
horse.
do.
Yeah, it was on Netflix. It was called Chasing the Crown or something. But it was really interesting. Like listening to the jockeys, and these guys are all world class athletes, and the trainers, and the loadings that they were talking about with the horses. And it was interesting because one of the owners was a Major League Baseball player, and he was talking, well, you can't be on all the time, so there was real conflict around running this horse in the next race, and the trainer was like, no, we're not running. And the only one that really agreed was the guy who played world class baseball.
Yeah, 100%.
He agreed because he knew what he was talking about, right? And it's a good analogy to bring into business. If you're getting overwhelmed, it's because you're probably you don't have clarity and you're doing too much. You've got that load. There's too much load.
And quite often I think with clients, we just kind of go, okay, what's the low hanging fruit and what are we working on now? Once you've done that, then you go to the next thing. That's a big part of it. One of the other things that you asked me is like, how do I actually, and even in keynotes, like how do we shift people? I think a big part of it for me is, I know I've never said this out loud, and there's a thing in my stomach going, oh, I'm going to sound like a wanker. I have always known that part of the die vibe is living by example. Yeah. And I've always known that. Yeah. And it's just something inside of me. And I think since I've turned 50, I have realised, I'm 53 now, I've realised that I'm a banana. And I bloody love bananas. Bananas are the best. Yeah. And if you're listening to me
Yeah.
and you go, I don't quite like her, it's probably because you're an apple.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
if you're an orange and you're listening to me, you'll go, oh my God, she's a bit of a hoot. She's a bit intense, but
Yeah.
she's a bit of a hoot. The apples are going to go, I could turn her off any time now.
Yeah.
The bananas are just going to be cheering the shit out of me.
Okay, good.
Now, there's only one problem, is if I show up here and I think, for my business, it would be better if I was an orange, but actually I'm a banana.
Yeah.
And if I tried to be an orange, then nobody likes me.
Yeah, exactly.
So now I'm just like, I'm a banana. No apologies.
Especially today, in today's world, if you don't stand for something, you stand for nothing, right?
100%.
And like you just become, like I love Dan Kennedy and Mel Emery, real old school direct response marketers who I learned from, and they like, you can't be vanilla. You're going to be vanilla, go sell ice cream, but you're not making any money in business, because if you're not putting it out there, you're going to be in trouble, because the world ain't going to listen to you. So
unless you're vanilla,
yeah,
and you do vanilla
vanilla ice
amazingly.
cream, you're probably going to go all right, but
No, you got to be French vanilla then. So even then,
too right. So okay, one of the common things is being overwhelmed, and you help them get clarity on that. What else is another common thing that you find accidental leaders doing? Is it being too do they just be too nice as well?
Well, I think that what makes them really good at their craft is not the thing that makes them good at leading.
Yeah, true.
And so I think that our greatest strength is always our greatest weakness. And so generally speaking, they're so good at what they do. And if they're really good at what they do because they're empathetic or because they're really good at the work, managing people, leading people, doing business is not doing the work.
No.
And so it's another type of skill. So it's kind of like, how do they see that, and just getting them to view it in a way that's useful to them for their future versions of themselves.
How do you spot someone's greatest strength?
Well, it's obvious. How would you not spot it?
No, but like for some people, they don't see it.
Oh, well, they don't see it, but that would be like asking, I breathe, so I notice people. That is so inherent in me. I have always been able to read people.
Nice.
So I can't even answer that.
Yeah.
That's my genius zone.
Yeah. And I guess that is the cool part about having someone on like you, working with someone, because most people don't see their greatest strength, and the reason that they're standing inside the picture frame.
That's it. But that's why they ring, because they want they all of the clients that I work with have one question, whether they know it or not, and that is, what is obvious that I am missing?
Yeah.
But, the thing is that generally most people do know their strengths. They'll be like, well, I'm really, really good at this. Yeah. And so I had this conversation with Steve Holloway the other day. He's a journalist, and I said to him, you're so good at communicating, and your weakness is that unless I tell you to stop sending me 20,000 emails a week, you're so good at communicating, you're too good at it. Yeah. It's like, filter, there we go.
Yeah.
So, generally speaking, whatever we're really, really good at. So I got brought up and my mum told me two things. My dad's giving me these great poems and my mum's saying two things. Di, shut up for 2 seconds. And would you stop bossing everyone around? Now, I love to ring my mum weekly and tell her how much money I earned this week for not shutting up and bossing everyone around. So that's the point, is that it is my strength and it will drive some people nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, but I guess that's the thing, right? So you're standing for something and you're actually helping people who, find themselves in an overwhelmed situation. They're leading people. They're either in a business or they're, in a leadership role, and they actually stuck and they don't know what to do. So you actually help them get clarity on that, which is, that is something that the world needs, right? So you should be paid for that.
And I think there's two things. I think that we get clarity, but also I would say that I have an ability to shift people's perspectives. And I think that and that is based on the story that you tell yourself. Yeah. So, I just think quite often I just give them a different set of glasses.
Yeah. And that's a gift, right? Like to people.
Yes.
Because, lots of people, they only have that perspective of what, of maybe even them just growing up and what other people have said to them. And, they carry that for a long way, right?
But fundamentally, I think that's because people think that their stories are true and that a story has to be true.
Yeah.
I think a story is very fluid.
Yeah. One thing for me though, like as growing up and getting into business, I got frustrated because I couldn't get past a certain income level. And it was really, really frustrating me. And it was like, I talked to a couple of people about it and they were just like, you just need to smash through it and it's a ceiling. And I was just like, yeah, but money was coming easy. And so I went to someone and did emotional freedom tapping,
Yeah, I love that.
EFT. I didn't really know what it was, but I saw something of it and I found a lady here who does it, Karen Deegan. She was absolutely awesome. I think I went 6 weeks, and on week 4, I had this amazing breakthrough. And it was like, so my grandfather was very successful and had farms, 2 farms, but then he hit his head on a post one day, and he got injured. He was still functional, but wasn't really functional. He would drink. So anyway, he would come home from working and been drinking and he'd been at the pub, and he would put all the money on the table. And if I'm there at in holidays, like he would just give me all this money. Granddad had all this money, and my uncle would be there, and my uncle would get none of it. His son was getting none of it, and he was giving it to his grandson. And my uncle would call me a weasel. And I was just like, you're a little weasel, you're this, you're that. And I didn't, like, I would have been like 9.
Yeah.
I had no idea what he was even talking about. I just knew that Granddad was cool because he was giving me all this money.
Yeah.
But what I realized when I was doing
Yes.
emotional freedom tapping, that money came very easily to me, but I didn't want to be associated as a weasel. So I gave the money away.
Because you didn't feel comfortable in holding on to it.
Feel comfortable in holding on to it. And it was like a blind, like when this thing hit me, I was like, man, I was unconsciously telling myself that
100%.
story. I didn't even know that story was there.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel for people today. Like, yep, they've got these stories running, but half of them don't even know that story's running.
And it all comes,
I didn't.
It comes down to a self-awareness. Like I think I spend a lifetime, I will always spend a lifetime just getting to know myself more and more and more, and just challenging some of those stories.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, because I know the benefit of that now. Like me growing, a multi-7-figure business, which that was a dream where I was when that ceiling was hitting, right? It was incredible how once that was lifted, how much more. I think we were probably in a couple of $100,000 debt. Now we have no debt, pretty much now no mortgage. There's a whole bunch of things that went on because of that, right?
The money mindset is a big part of what I do in terms of, like people understanding money and where it fits in and their mindset around it. Because even if we come down to pricing, I love pricing conversations because people are like, well, I couldn't charge that. And I'm like, well, why not? And it's like, stop thinking about what you do as an hourly rate and start talking about the transformation. Now, I would say that I'm not great at this, but I've still managed to sort of, it is a really hard thing to do, because again, I find it really hard to see some things for myself.
Yeah. I so started to learn some things, and I was writing sales copy at the time inside this business. Sales letter that I wrote when I first wrote it was $500. Did this mental stuff, freedom tapping. The last sales letter I wrote inside that business was $15,000.
Yeah.
And look, same words on the paper.
Yeah.
But just more confidence, the ability to actually know that I was adding that much value to the marketplace. These guys were writing millions of dollars off the back of those sales campaigns. But it took me to do that work to figure that out, right?
But that's the point though, isn't it? Because, quite often we think about, but this is how much my time is worth to me.
Yeah.
But you're not flipping it and saying, what is this worth to my client?
Totally.
And, when you are paid, at the upper end of it, then you end up doubling down and giving greater value anyway.
Yeah.
Like today, I just saw something on social media yesterday. So I reached out to a client who, has been on hold, and that's normal for my business.
Yep.
And I just reached out and I was like, and we had like a 45-minute conversation. Yep. You know what? Best thing I could have done. Not even just from I won't get paid for it, none of that stuff. But that's just good. There's been a good human.
Yeah.
And it's good for my business.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, someone's feeling heard and someone's feeling, and it's good to have that human connection with someone who has been a client before, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's moving. That's how you move people into being your raving fans, by going over and above.
Yeah. 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 That's very cool. It's very cool. And the person would really appreciate that because all of a sudden that reciprocity, that top of mind goes,
They were frothing.
Man. Yeah. Yeah. So good. Hey, so you did a really cool talk yesterday, so I've heard, and the topic was the mindset of bold leadership. So
Yep.
obviously you do keynotes.
Mhm.
Like tell me about that. Like tell me about, because everyone has a fear of public speaking. I don't care if you've spoken, 1,000 times or never spoke at all. Like the fear of public speaking it can always get people. When you're talking on stage, what do you love about that?
I don't know. I guess at some level, I always knew I was going to be a keynote public speaker.
Yep.
And I'm definitely in my genius zone.
Nice.
Like I'm a storyteller from way back. If you ever meet my mum and dad, you'll be like, we know where she gets it from. So I've always had the ability to use story. I've probably perfected the art. Most people think I'm just a random storyteller, but there's always a purpose in why I tell a story. And it's to illustrate an example or, without being really harsh. Like I don't want to go through life going, whoa, did you notice this about yourself? But I might share a story.
What's your favorite story? What's one you always go to that can help a business owner listening to this right now who's thinking, man, this world's tough?
I think the one I told yesterday around tariffs, actually, thank you, Trump, that now everyone knows what a tariff is. Back when I was 15, tariffs were coming off imports coming into New Zealand. So I think it was about 30% was added on to all products coming into New Zealand. And that was coming off. And we had a knitwear manufacturing business. So basically it was kind of like the first nail in the coffin. Yeah. Like that was always the thing that set the course of the rest of our next 12, 15 years. That one movement. And so really interesting in terms of what we did right and what we did wrong. So one of the things that we did right was we took our own responsibility and started getting our own brands. One of the things that we did wrong is we always thought of ourselves as a manufacturing company. We never changed our identity. We were actually, after we had developed our own brands, we should have transitioned into a marketing company. And, instead we watched Jeremy Moon from Icebreaker tell our story. Yeah,
so true, right? Like that's a huge part of like what business are you actually in?
100%.
And at that time,
because it was who we were. It was our heartbeat. But actually we had morphed into something else. But there was this beast that we were always driven to feed. And what we should have done is we should have pulled them apart and treated them differently. But again, I always think self-awareness. It was my dad and my two uncles that were in the business, and a lot of that was driven by the personalities of those people.
And whether they wanted to actually step out into that marketing world and tell that story. There would have been heaps of other stories going on in their heads. So hey, we'll just stick in our lane, stick to manufacturing.
That's it. And
that's what we know.
Yeah, and if we had been really honest with ourselves and said this is a sunset industry, so what are we going to do? But again, the other thing that I think the guys did really well is they had diversified, and so they doubled down on that. Nice. So there's lots of things they did really, really well, and then other things that I'd say that was interesting.
So when you're speaking to the doing a keynote, what's your, because that was a great story and people would have got, because all of a sudden I started thinking about my industry and like what could I do and where are we at and, like technology and all this sort of stuff. What's your goal when you're speaking to people, when you're on stage, what are you looking to do?
Well, that story is an example, along with some personal stories that I might, share, is an example of it might not have been our fault, but it was our responsibility.
And is that when you talked about bold leadership, like it wasn't our fault, but it was our responsibility to take that bold leadership to make those changes, which
100%. And also it's an example of what story are we allowing ourselves to tell ourselves about the situation. So I think that we could have changed the story by saying, hey, we have been a manufacturing company and now the story that we're going to tell ourselves is we've done this amazing job with these 3 incredible brands. How do we transfer into a marketing company?
That's like, I guess when you look in hindsight, looking back and going, man, I wish I could have that time again. But, obviously you can only take those lessons forward. And I guess that's the coolest part of what you're doing with your keynotes. You bring those lessons forward and always believe, people will pay you for your past.
Yeah.
And I think there is gold inside people's past that they don't really realize that other people will pay them for. Because there's a group of people out there that will pay for your past because they don't want to make those same mistakes.
Absolutely. And I think that also telling a story can just make it a more palatable way of learning the lesson.
Yeah.
And, the third thing in that was, if I had our time again, what would I do differently? So how would I take that situation that we had accidentally gotten and what would have I done differently? And so the thing for me is that when I look back on some of those situations, I'm very aware that our looking forward position was based on the personalities.
Yeah.
So one of the personalities liked to be right.
Yes.
Which wasn't particularly helpful.
Yeah.
And it's like sometimes even shareholders, I always talk to current businesses now about what hat are you wearing when we have this conversation?
Yeah.
Are you a shareholder? Are you a director? Are you, talking from a CEO position? What hat are you wearing? Because as you grow a business, you tend to have multiple hats on. And I think it's incredibly important, even from a governance point of view, to understand your responsibilities in each of those hats.
Seriously, that is a great question. What hat are you wearing? Because I was just thinking about that as a business owner. I own the hat of obviously running the business, but also as a shareholder, as a director. There's other hats I wear there, and as looking at investing as well, and like some of those decisions, does that decision affect the business decision?
Of course it does.
Yeah.
Like we're having conversations with a client of mine at the moment. It's like, I need to understand what the shareholders want, whether they want to grow a net worth business or whether they want to have more of a practice and just have a cash flow business, so that the directors can then make decisions and pass that information down to the CEO. Unless we know what the shareholders want and what the purpose of this company is, all decisions have to flow from there.
Yeah.
Now, which is super interesting because generally speaking, shareholders are quite divorced from the day-to-day operation of the business. So unless you understand what each of those things do and the hat that they're wearing and the decision that they're making, that's where it gets messed up, I believe.
Yeah. So it strikes me as you're a long-term learner. Like you're learning for life. What is it you do on a daily basis, a weekly basis to strengthen your mindset, to strengthen who you are as a person? Obviously, being present, being grateful. Well, what other stuff do you do to make sure that you're sharp? Because you said before you were sharpening your sword. What were you doing in those period of times, or what do you do?
At times I take in a lot of information.
Yep.
Like I went and did a lot of courses, and my husband would be like, do you need to know that? And it's like, I didn't realize at the time, but I was just looking at what they offered, what value they contributed,
Nice.
what were other people saying about the course, what was the most valuable thing that everyone got out of the course, which generally speaking is the other people you meet.
Yes, true. Yeah.
Hardly ever the content.
Yeah.
So I was just learning, and I was going, what is it that I guess I was trying to figure out what my zone of genius was.
Yep.
So it's like in this really noisy space of coaches, what is it that I bring to the table? And what I figured out, which really slowly what I figured out, was that my business experience, so the fact that I had been in business my whole life and I had been around business my whole life was my greatest strength.
Yeah, totally.
Because, you can go to someone about confidence, and you can go to someone about, I want to build a business. But if the only thing they've done in business is build a coaching business, like a group coaching, it's not quite the same. And they're doing that as they do it. They haven't done it. They are doing it. Yeah. And so I think the thing that I realize now is that it's two parts. Like a friend of mine, when I said to him, I don't know what to do, because at the time I'd done a lot of speaking about my cancer journey. So I had a lot of clients around that were terminally ill. Yep. And he said to me, I said, I'm at a critical point. I'm not loving this. And he said to me, I want you to go to your bookcase and I want to tell me what's there. And I said, well, that's easy. I said, there's only going to be 2 books. They're going to be on business or they're going to be on mindset.
Nice.
And I was like, oh my goodness. Like, that's the answer.
Yeah. How good. And Look, if you go into my library
Yeah,
there,
I was thinking I saw that on the
it's
way
pretty
in.
much business or, mindset. Like I think mindset, I think business is for me the ultimate personal development
100%.
game, like if
100%.
especially when you've got people that rely on you and you've got team and that they are doing great work, etc. There's a lot of balls in the air and you have to have, you have to have the ability to handle all those inputs that are coming at you, and then filter them so that they go in the right way. And sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong. Um, but the good thing about it is you can learn from other people, and that's what I love. I love the fact that you can learn from other people. I love the fact that you go to you mentioned going to on a course, and I'm in a mastermind in the States, and like I just soak it up because I learn from going to dinner. I'm the Kiwi guy there sitting at dinner and hearing these guys who have got multi 8-figure businesses, and here's what they're doing. Here's what they're doing here, here, and here. And I love that. I'm
Yeah.
learning from those people because I want to grow. I want to be as best I can be because I want to give opportunities to other people.
Yeah, I love that.
And you can't do that by playing small yourself.
You have to
Yeah,
be the example.
you have to be, you have to be that light when you keep going. And I think it's really interesting. Mindset plays a big part of that, and if you're not working on your mindset, I think you're in a world of hurt because things are going to come at you too fast. You're not going to know how to handle it.
And I think it's checking your mindset, like it. The other thing that you just said is around that personal development side in business is like it's such a big piece. I think part of the reason it's a big piece also is it's incredibly lonely.
Totally.
And I think for me, since I've been okay with the fact of being lonely, it's probably my business has gone through the roof when
Yeah.
I haven't expected other people to understand.
Yeah.
When I've just gone, actually, this is my business. I need to put
Yeah.
on my big girl undies
Yeah.
and make the decision.
Yeah.
I've got ovaries of steel. I just give them a rub and make some decisions. Off we go.
Yeah.
And it's like instead of kind of going, oh, well, someone else is in the same, it's like, who cares?
Yeah.
Just get on.
I remember there was a guy here talking about his business, and he decided the day his business took off, he decided it was no longer he used to call it his side hustle.
Yeah.
And he kept calling, and then one day he realized, I got to stop calling it my side hustle. It's actually my business now. And he's growing another part of his business. And I'm like, this is not a side hustle.
Yeah.
This is a serious business that can help a lot of people. And I think that's maybe it's just that one conversation or that one time you can catch yourself that can trigger you on another velocity of where you want to go and how you're going to help. And I think that's the key thing here too. Most of the business owners that I deal with, the good business owners, they want you to go good. The good ones really want you to go good. And that's what I love about getting around good business people. They're cheering you on, they want you to go good. And you're in the right place when you've got business owners that are wanting you to succeed as well. Because when I first got into business, I came from the corporate world, and that was completely opposite. The corporate world, not everyone wanted you to go well, They actually wanted you to go worse so they could go better.
I was just talking to someone that's, and has been in TV in the past. I was on an aeroplane last week and I happened to sit beside someone I kind of they looked familiar. So we got chatting. And one of the things that he said that really stayed with me was that in that particular industry, your colleagues wanted you to stuff up. Because then if you did that, then there'd be an opportunity for them. And I was like,
Man.
whoa, that's rough, eh?
Yeah,
that's rough.
Yeah, I saw that in the corporate world, and I remember looking around going, yep, I could have your job, I could have your job. You're on 250, yep, I could have that. Do I want that?
Yeah.
Because no one would make a decision at that level because no one wanted to get it wrong.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, what's the point of that? Like you got to supposed to take some risks. You got to back yourself. If you're not doing that, you're just sitting there and being comfortable. But then I saw the flip side of that. I saw 250 people get made redundant in a heartbeat. And so that was the big eye opener to me. It was like, you were just a number. I wasn't lucky. I wasn't one of the numbers. I was one of the 20 that was saved out of the 250. But I watched as the guy stood on the stairs and said, oh, by the way, all of you are made redundant. You guys over there are fine. Go back to work. And I was like, whoa. That made a real impression that, you got to take control over who you are in your life and where you want to go.
Well, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, and I think we all learned this through the earthquakes as well, is that, insurance and jobs are a commercial transaction.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. So true. Hey, a couple more questions. Podcasting. What do you love about podcasting? I see you're on a few podcasts and you've got your own stuff that you're doing with podcasts. What do you love about podcasts?
I think it's the same thing that I love about speaking.
Yep.
So it's a way of sharing and my knowledge and, my wisdom, if you like. It's a way of entertaining. I think that, I think that one of the things about me is I've always wanted other people to do better than me.
Nice.
I can't explain it. Like ever since the first person that I employed, I was like, how do I get you to be better than me?
Okay, good.
Yeah,
That's a great mindset.
I don't think I've just always thought that. I've thought, how do I share?
Yeah.
Like, would it all be better if we shared the things that we knew?
Yeah.
So to me, it's just another form of sharing.
Okay, good. I had a real a game-changing conversation when I left the corporate world. I was working in the corporate world and I was making some money. I was about to leave. And a guy called Brett McFall, he said to me, this is 2006, I was at the World Internet Summit. He said to me, Scott, you need to go out there and share everything that you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's kind of stupid because why would I do that? And he said, oh, by the way, you got to share it for free.
Yeah,
I was like, why would I share stuff and help people for free? He goes, trust me, in years to come, that will pay you back in spades.
Yeah.
I came from the corporate world though. You did not share anything for free. Like you kept hold of that and like you pitched it to someone who mattered. But that was a big change for me. Like when I realized he was right. So creating a podcast and sharing information with people, coming in and doing a talk. Hey, for talks, you get paid, which is great. But actually, compared to what you get paid compared to what some of the information that can help people,
100%.
like it's they're definitely on the upside there.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is a gift that business has given you?
I don't even, I honestly don't know how to answer that. It has given me, I don't know. I just love it.
Yeah.
I so much,
I'll
everything.
give you something from an outsider's perspective. Okay. The gift that it's given you is it's allowed you to be you.
Oh, yeah.
And like you can turn up and you don't have to be embarrassed or take a step back or stay in the corner or you can be the banana that you're supposed to be. And that's what I loved having the conversation when we had a conversation the other day, and then you're going to do something with the Inspire Foundation, which I think is fantastic. But business has given you the gift of being you. And I think like a lot of people, they should look at their business and go, you know what? It allows me to be me. If I turn up to every day to this business and I was just me, and not the stereotype of what the industry tells me to be, but if I was just me, how much different would I show up inside my business? And also, how much better would my business be?
Now, you have absolutely made my year because I have been working on that for quite some time. I have been working on stepping outside of who I think I should be or who the world thinks I should show up as to do what I do. And in the last 2 or 3 years, I've just leaned more and more and more into just being myself.
Yeah.
And even especially in the last 18 months. And so for you to say that, I'm just like, yeah, because like if you're listening to this and like I will tell you the things that I am amazing at. Like my boys hear it from me every day. I'm like, do you know? I say to my husband, look at what this person said about me. How lucky are you to live with me? Like you don't even know the gold that you get in living with me. Because here's the thing. If you're prepared to be your own very worst critic, if you're prepared to critique yourself in such a harsh way, then you also have the responsibility to be your very best cheerleader.
Totally.
And if you are looking for somebody else to give you the praise to make you feel confident about who you are looking in the wrong place.
Yeah.
I would just tell you to give whatever you're looking for in life, give it to yourself.
Yep.
I have been looking for approval and acceptance and belonging, and now I approve and accept and belong with myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, if you do give yourself that, you'll change how you turn up in the game that you play. And the cool thing is other people will notice.
It's not even the bit about yourself. Like you feel more comfortable in yourself, which luckily for me, my husband has been the very best example of that, feeling comfortable in your own skin. But it's the people that you attract and then the opportunities that come from that. I could not have mapped out my last 18 months.
Yeah.
It is mind-blowing, the profile increase I've got purely from just showing up as myself.
Showing up as yourself. And look, I think a lot of people could definitely learn a lesson from that, right? Because there's some people there that and I get it. We all sometimes, especially in New Zealand, we don't want to put our head too far above the pulpit because we get shot. Not physically shot, but
no, but we do.
We get shot mentally, because that's not what you're supposed to do. But the people I hang around with, the business owners I hang around with, it made me decide I was going to do more to help other people when I realized they wanted me to be successful.
Yeah.
And that was a game changer for me because like coming from another corporate world, it wasn't the way, And
I love that.
And I just think, that is the gift that business has given you. So you're owning it, which I think is awesome. So we won't edit that extremely long pause. We'll keep it in there for effect because that was beautiful. Hey, Di, this has been fantastic. Where do people get hold of you if they want to connect to? Like I see on your website, you're not taking any people on at the moment. I think that's just wrong. You should be working harder. No.
It's all right. I'll put my prices up next week. That'll fix it.
Yeah, exactly. No, well, if someone's looking for a keynote speaker, where do they go? Where do they get hold of you?
Di@difoster.com. Just drop me an email or follow me on LinkedIn. I'm under Di Foster. And I hang out a bit on Instagram.
Nice. You put up some nice content on LinkedIn too. Like there's some really good.
I do.
You have some good, like what I love about your thought leadership. There's some really good, and you always have good conversations with people in it. So you definitely check out Di. Di, is there anything else you want to add to this conversation? Look, I can't believe
been
going for about an hour and 5 minutes, which has been fantastic.
Well, that's what I was going to add. You said we started this conversation with 45 minutes to an hour, and I was like, right, we're going over an hour.
Well, the cool thing is you can come back now, you see, because people will go, I want more of that lady. And I'll be like, yeah, sweet, I'll bring it back.
Awesome. Hey, no, I just appreciate the chat.
Awesome. Well, it's been a good chat. Now, your job, though, you've been listening to this, right? And look, if you're smart, you've been taking notes and you've been thinking, I need to do that in my business. Maybe I need to show a bit more bold leadership, and maybe I need to do some things that can actually help me in my business. Well, one of the smartest things you could do is contact Di. Like reach out and see how she can help you. If you notice she's at a speaking event, go and see her talk. But get involved because, you may be an apple, but I'll tell you what, if you get around enough bananas, you soon might want to change that, right? So, you've got to have these conversations. You've got to confront the things that you need to confront inside your business if you want to move it forward. And also if you're working inside a business and you're a leader, come and have a chat, like see how you can develop yourself and your skills to even go further with what you're doing. So,
because on that, we all together make a fabulous fruit salad.
Totally.
And that's the point.
Yeah. And you didn't even get to like strawberries or grapes or pineapple or anything like that.
Feijoas, raspberries.
You're leaving stuff out here. Other fruits are going to be upset. Hey, your second job is to share this podcast. Look, this will be out on all the good networks. If you've been watching some of the shorts, please share them. Share them on LinkedIn, share them on Instagram, and tag us in. Tag Di and tell her what you loved about what she said. We've been getting some great traction with our shorts, especially on LinkedIn. People really, really enjoy that part of it. But I want to thank you for being here, but I really want you to share it because the more you share, the more people get to see this information and the more people we can help here. So it really helps. Okay, Di, thanks for your time.
Cheers.
Appreciate you coming along. All right, everyone, go out there, have some fun, take action, and remember, as always, celebrate your victories.